Hello, this is Shmuel Moshe, and you are listening to the Weekly Parashahcast, the weekly Torah portion podcast where I read the weekly Torah portion and then provide my own interpretation of what I think it all means. This week's portion is Behaalotecha, which translates to when you raise. This portion falls on the 16th of Sivan, 5784, June 22nd, 2024. We'll begin with chapter 8, verse 1. You can follow along in English on Chabad.org. And as always, I remind you all, I am not a professional Torah scholar, just somebody who wanted to study the Torah. Let's go ahead and begin. First portion, chapter 8 of Bamidbar, verse 1. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you light the lamps, the 7 lamps shall cast their light toward the face of the menorah. Aaron did so. He lit the lamps toward the face of the menorah, as the Lord had commanded Moses. This was the form of the menorah, hammered work of gold. From its base to its flower, it was hammered work. According to the form that the Lord had shown Moses, so did he construct the menorah. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take the Levites from among the children of Israel and cleanse them. This is what you shall do to them, as so to cleanse them. Sprinkle them with cleansing water, and pass a razor over all their flesh. Then they shall wash their garments and cleanse themselves. Then they shall take a young bull with its meal offering of fine flour mingled with oil, and you shall take a second young bull as a sin offering. You shall bring the Levites in front of the tent of meeting, and you shall go gather the entire congregation of the children of Israel. You shall bring the Levites before the Lord, and the children of Israel shall lay their hands upon the Levites. Then Aaron shall lift up the Levites as a waving before the Lord on behalf of the children of Israel, that they may serve in the Lord's service. The Levites shall lay their hands on the heads of the bulls, and make one as a sin offering and one as a burnt offering to the Lord to atone for the Levites. You shall present the Levites before Aaron and his sons, and lift them as a waving before the Lord. Thus shall you set apart the Levites from the midst of the children of Israel, and the Levites shall become mine. All right, cool. So that's the end of the first portion. Some fairly straightforward stuff. So we're learning about what to do when lighting the menorah, and it's pretty much straightforward. God says this. Moses tells Aaron. Aaron does as he is told. And then after the menorah has been constructed according to the necessary specifications, the Lord tells Moses that he wants him to take the Levites and cleanse them so that, as we find out, they can be given to the Lord as his separate from the rest of the children of Israel. So they go through the whole process. They basically shave themselves, they clean, they make an offering, and they are set apart through this ritual. And with that, they are set apart as the Lord's, separate from the rest of Israel. On to the second portion, chapter 8, verse 15 of Bamidbar. Following this, the Levites shall come to the serve in the tent of meeting. You shall cleanse them and lift them as a waving, for they are wholly given over to me from among the children of Israel. Instead of those that opened the womb, all the firstborn of Israel, I have taken them for myself. For all the firstborn among the children of Israel are mine, whether man or beast, since the day I smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. I have sanctified them for myself. And I have taken the Levites instead of all the firstborn of the children of Israel. I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel to perform the service for the children of Israel in the tent of meeting, and to atone on behalf of the children of Israel, so that the children of Israel will not be inflicted with plague when they approach the sanctuary. So Moses, Aaron, and the entire congregation of Israel did this to the Levites. The children of Israel did in accordance with all the Lord had instructed Moses regarding the Levites. The Levites cleansed themselves and washed their clothes. Then Aaron lifted them as a waving before the Lord, and Aaron atoned for them to cleanse them. After that, the Levites came to perform the service in the tent of meeting before Aaron and before his sons. They did to them just as the Lord had commanded Moses regarding the Levites. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This is the rule concerning the Levites. From the age of 25 years and upwards he shall enter the service to work in the tent of meeting. From the age of 50 he shall retire from the work legion and do no more work. He shall minister with his brethren in the tent of meeting to keep the charge, but he shall not perform the service. Thus shall you do for the Levites regarding their charge. All right, that's the end of the second portion. So once again, just further continuing on the separation of the Levites on behalf of becoming gods. And then, of course, also, God says, I had claim to the firstborns, but instead I'm using the firstborns of the Levites in place of all of Israel. They're going to be serving in the tent of meeting in their own respective assignments. It's also going to happen from age 25 to 50, and then they're going to retire from that work. Also, we see that the waving offering happens here to indicate that they are set apart. So once again, keeping it rather short and simple, but that is how it goes down in the second portion. And from there, we know about the career of all the Levites. And this is, of course, before we get too set on just what these Levites are doing. Don't forget the previous portion talked about specific families of Levites and what they would be doing. On to the third portion, chapter 9, verse 1. The Lord spoke to Moses in the Sinai desert in the 2nd year of their exodus from the land of Egypt in the 1st month, saying, The children of Israel shall make the Passover sacrifice in its appointed time. On the afternoon of the 14th of this month you shall make it in its appointed time. In accordance with all its statutes and all its ordinances you shall make it. Moses spoke to the children of Israel, instructing them to make the Passover sacrifice. So they made the Passover sacrifice in the 1st month on the afternoon of the 14th day of the month in the Sinai desert. According to all the Lord had commanded Moses, so did the children of Israel do. There were men who were ritually unclean because of contact with a dead person, and therefore could not make the Passover sacrifice on that day. So they approached Moses and Aaron on that day. Those men said to him, We are ritually unclean because of contact with a dead person. But why should we be excluded so as to not bring the offering of the Lord in its appointed time with all the children of Israel? Moses said to them, Wait, and I will hear what the Lord instructs concerning you. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, Any person who becomes unclean from contact with the dead or is on a distant journey, whether among you or in future generations, he shall make a Passover sacrifice for the Lord. In the 2nd month, on the 14th day, in the afternoon they shall make it. They shall eat it with unleavened cakes and bitter herbs. They shall not leave over anything from it until the next morning, and they shall not break any of its bones. They shall make it in accordance with all the statutes connected with the Passover sacrifice. But the man who was ritually clean and was not on a journey, yet refrained from making the Passover sacrifice, his soul shall be cut off from his people, for he did not bring the offering of the Lord in its appointed time. That person shall bear his sin. If a proselyte dwells with you, and he makes a Passover sacrifice to the Lord, according to the statutes of the Passover sacrifice and its ordinances, he shall make it. One statute shall apply to you, to the proselyte, and to the native-born citizen. All right, cool. So that's the end of the third portion. So a couple of notes. Here we are hearing about, yes, you're all going to go make that Passover sacrifice. And it comes to pass that some people are unclean. And so they say, Moses, what do? We want to make sure that we also give our appropriate sacrifice, but we're unclean and we don't want to do the wrong thing. So Moses consults God. God gives him the official verdict. If you're on a long journey far away from home, or you're unclean, you can do essentially a Passover do-over a month later. So a whole month later, you get a second chance. But those of you who are simply not doing it because you don't feel like it, in other words, if you're able to do it, but you don't, then it's different for you. You don't have an excuse, so instead you're just going to bear the sin of doing so. Now, what's interesting is this is the second time we see this information. It was also shared in Leviticus. So but the book of Vayikra, we basically can understand that this is very significant. When we hear it in the previous book, we're seeing it told as the law. We're hearing the official ruling. Now we're seeing the precedent for when this ruling was established. So initially it was, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to do in the condition that you can't fulfill it as instructed. Now, in this book, we see the exact scenario in which this came to pass and why this particular ruling was made. Because people asked Moses, and he had to go ask God. So that concludes that, and once again, make sure you do it, and as always, one law, one statute shall apply to you, the proselyte, and the native-born citizen. So, one law applies to everyone. That is a running theme with the Torah. On to the fourth portion, chapter 9, verse 15 of Bamidbar. On the day the Mishkan was erected, the cloud covered the Mishkan, which was a tent for the testimony, and at evening there was over the Mishkan like an appearance of fire, which remained until morning. So it was always the cloud covered it, and there was an appearance of fire at night. And according to the cloud's departure from over the tent, and afterwards, the children of Israel would travel, and in the place where the cloud settled, there the children of Israel would encamp. At the bidding of the Lord, the children of Israel traveled, and at the bidding of the Lord they encamped. As long as the cloud hovered above the Mishkan, they encamped. When the cloud lingered over the Mishkan for many days, the children of Israel kept the charge of the Lord and did not travel. Sometimes the cloud remained for several days above the Mishkan. At the Lord's bidding they encamped, and at the Lord's bidding they traveled. Sometimes the cloud remained from evening until morning, and when the cloud departed in the morning, they traveled. Or the cloud remained for a day and a night, and when the cloud departed, they traveled. Whether it was for 2 days, a month, or a year that the cloud lingered to hover over the Mishkan, the children of Israel would encamp and not travel, and when it departed, they traveled. As the Lord's bidding, they would encamp, and at the Lord's bidding, they would travel. They kept the charge of the Lord by the word of the Lord through Moses. Chapter 10, verse 1. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Make yourself 2 silver trumpets. You shall make them from a beaten form. They shall be used by you to summon the congregation and to announce the departure of the camps. When they blow on them, the entire congregation shall assemble to you at the entrance of the tent of meeting. If they blow one of them, the princes, the leaders of Israel's thousands, shall convene to you. When you blow a teruah, a series of short blasts, the camps which are encamped to the east shall travel. When you blow a second teruah, the camps encamped to the south shall travel. They shall blow a teruah for traveling. But when assembling the congregation, you shall blow a tekiah, a long blast, but not a teruah. The descendants of Aaron, the priests, shall blow the trumpets. This shall be an eternal statute for your generations. If you go to war in your land against an adversary that oppresses you, you shall blow a teruah with the trumpets, and be remembered before the Lord your God, and thus be saved from your enemies. On the days of your rejoicing, on the festivals, and on your new moon celebrations, you shall blow on the trumpets for your ascent offerings and your peace sacrifices, and it shall be a remembrance before your God. I am the Lord your God. All right, so that's the end of the 4th portion. So the first half of this portion is a lot of emphasis about what happens once they have fully erected the Mishkan. It is now in action. It's been built, and in the day there'd be a cloud hovering over it, and at night there would be fire. So the people knew that God was dwelling among them. Now, what would happen is they would basically follow this cloud. So if during the day the cloud started moving, they would all follow it. And if the cloud stayed still, they would just simply settle in camp. And this was the process at all times. So it's really emphasized repeatedly that people did not move, the congregation would not move unless the cloud basically showed them it was time to move. They did everything according to the Lord's will, which was either stay or go, stay or go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, stop, go, 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 go. Whatever the case was, whether it was, as it says, a day, a month, or a year, if the Lord said it's time to stay put with his cloud, they would stay put. And when it was time to move, they would move. So it shows that their movements were entirely directed by the leadership of the Lord dwelling among them. Now in chapter 10, we get the instructions regarding the silver trumpets. Now this is something that's interesting. We often know about the shofar, which is made from a ram's horn, but the silver trumpet is a little bit different. It has a similar function and even the same kind of different noises that it makes, but it's specifically 2 silver trumpets. Now, we basically are told what the different signals mean, whether it's a short blast or a long blast or a multiple blasts. It's going to command the people to behave a certain way. If you hear 1 trumpet or 2 trumpets, that sort of thing. The other thing to keep in mind is it's, of course, going to be dramatically changing one way or another, whether or not they're actually going to be rolling out of camp. And it says, once you blow the horn, this group is going to move, and then the second group is going to move, and so on. So this is very important to understand how the formation is going to travel. Additionally, when it's time for war taking place in the land of Israel itself, blow the horn, and God will remember you. And you're also going to be using these horns, these trumpets, on the sacred days, as well as anytime you're making new moon celebrations, ascent offerings, peace offerings, and so on. This is a remembrance before your God, and of course also that this is something that the Kohanim shall be doing. They're going to be the ones blowing the trumpet forever and ever. On to the 5th portion, chapter 10, verse 11 of Bamidbar. On the 12th of the 2nd month in the 2nd year, the cloud rose up over the tabernacle of the testimony. The children of Israel traveled on their journeys from the Sinai desert, and the cloud settled in the desert of Paran. This was the first journey at God's bidding through Moses. The banner of the camp of Judah's children traveled first according to their legions. Heading the legion was Nachshon, the son of Aminadab. Heading the legion of the tribe of the children of Issachar was Netanel, the son of Zuar. Heading the legion of the tribe of the children of Zebulun was Eliab, the son of Helon. The tabernacle was dismantled, and the sons of Gershon set out together with the sons of Merari, who carried the tabernacle. Then the banner of the camp of Reuben set out according to their legions. Heading its legions was Elitzor, the son of Shidor. Heading the legion of the tribe of the children of Simeon was Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai. Heading the legion of the tribe of the children of Gad was Eliasaph, the son of Deuel. The Kohathites, who carried the holy equipment, set out, and they had erected the tabernacle before they had arrived. Then the banner of the camp of Ephraim set out according to its legions. Heading its legion was Elishama, the son of Ahimihud. Heading the legion of the tribe of the children of Menashe was Gamliel, the son of Pedazor. Heading the legion of the tribe of the children of Benjamin was Abidan, the son of Gidoni. Then the banner of the camp of Dan set out, the collector for all the other camps, according to its legions. Heading its legion was Achiezer, the son of Ammishaddai. Heading the legion of the tribe of the children of Asher was Pagiel the son of Okran. Heading the legion of the tribe of the children of Naphtali was Ahira the son of Enon. These are the travels of the children of Israel according to their legions, and then they traveled. Then Moses said to Hobab the son of Reuel the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, We are traveling to the place about which the Lord said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will be good to you, for the Lord has spoken of good fortune for Israel. He said to him, I won't go, for I will go to my land and my birthplace. He said, Please don't leave us, for because you are familiar with our encampments in the desert, and you will be our guide. And if you go with us, then we will bestow you on the good which God grants us. They traveled a distance of 3 days from the mountain of the Lord, and the ark of the Lord's covenant traveled 3 days ahead of them to seek for a place for them to settle. The cloud of the Lord was above them by day when they traveled from the camp. That's the end of that portion, number 5. So now we get a little of information. We find out that on the 12th of the second month in the second year, all right, so it seems to be, the 20th, right? So this is about 5 days or 6 days after Passover. The cloud moves, and so it's time for the journey from the Sinai desert into the desert of Paran. Now, it says this is the first time that they did this, and they followed, God's bidding through Moses to travel. So it tells us who's going in what order, who is in charge of each of the legions, and so on, by name. And then we find out that Moses is talking to the son of Reuel, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law. So we're talking about Jethro. So his son, Jethro has a son that's apparently with them. And he says to him, the desert of Paran. So he would basically be coming across him on their journeys, right? So he comes across his brother-in-law and he says, Listen, we would really appreciate it if you would travel with us. And, you're familiar with our encampments in the desert. You will be our guide. And if you go with us, God will, we will bestow the good things onto you from God, right? And so basically he says he doesn't want to because he's going to go where he belongs, which is what he says is his land, his birthplace. Now, it ultimately says that they travel a distance of 3 days from the mountain of the Lord, and the ark of the Lord's covenant traveled 3 days ahead of them to seek for them a place to settle. So remember, they're following the cloud. The cloud is always above. So the cloud is above the holy tabernacle, and then it settles in, and then they all settle around that. And so the cloud of the Lord was above them by day when they traveled from the camp. So it seems, it's not clear that he makes the decision whether or not he will join them, but it's nice that Moses asks, please be a guide. You know us, you know our ways, you know our people, and you know the area. And it's interesting because why would Moses need to do this? What is the significance of this? God already is leading them. So I think this is an act of goodwill from Moses. This is a gesture to his brother-in-law of love, because he has no real need to bring him along, but instead he's saying, you who is a brother to my wife, you who is the son of my father-in-law, who has been of great counsel to me, you know us, you know our ways, we would love to have you with us. And he says no, but it's significant to show that Moses wanted to bring him along. And it also shows Moses' nature of being very inclusive, which is a good and a bad thing according to the Erev Rav discussion of earlier portions. Now we can go ahead and move on to the 6th portion, chapter 10, verse 35. So it was, whenever the ark set out, Moses would say, Arise, O Lord, may your enemies be scattered, and may those who hate you flee from you. And when it came to rest, he would say, Repose, O Lord, among the myriads of thousands of Israel. Chapter 11, verse 1. The people were looking to complain, and it was evil in the ears of the Lord. The Lord heard this, and his anger flared, and a fire from the Lord burned among them, consuming the extremes of the camp. The people cried out to Moses. Moses prayed to the Lord, and the fire died down. He named that place Taberah, for the fire of the Lord had burned among them there. But the multitude among them began to have strong cravings. Then even the children of Israel once again began to cry, and they said, Who will feed us meat? We remember the fish that we ate in Egypt free of charge, the cucumbers, the watermelons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our bodies are dried out, for there is nothing at all. We have nothing but manna to look at. Now the manna was like coriander seed, and its appearance was like the appearance of crystal. The people walked about and gathered it. Then they ground it in a mill or crushed it in a mortar, cooked it in a pot, and made it into cakes. It had a taste like the taste of oil cake. When the dew descended on the camp at night, the manna would descend upon it. Moses heard the people weeping with their families, each one at the entrance of his tent. The Lord became very angry, and Moses considered it evil. Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you treated your servant so badly? Why have I not found favor in your eyes that you place the burden of this entire people upon me? Did I conceive this entire people? Did I give birth to them that you say to me, carry them in your bosom as the nurse carries the suckling, to the land you promised their forefathers? Where can I get meat to give all these people? For they are crying on me, saying, give us meat to eat. Alone I cannot carry this entire people, for it is too hard for me. If this is the way you treat me, please kill me if I have found favor in your eyes, so that I may not see my misfortune." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Assemble for me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the people's elders and officers, and you shall take them to the tent of meeting, and they shall stand there with you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will increase the spirit that is upon you and bestow it upon them. Then they will bear the burden of the people with you, so that you need not bear it alone. And to the people you shall say, prepare yourselves, for tomorrow you shall eat meat. Because you have cried in the ears of the Lord, saying, who will feed us meat? For we had it better in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat it not 1 day, not 2 days, not 5 days, not 10 days, and not 20 days, but even for a full month, until it comes out of your nose and nauseates you, because you have despised the Lord who is among you, and you have cried to him, saying, why did we ever leave Egypt? Moses said, 600,000 people on foot are the people in whose midst I am, and you say, I will give them meat, and they will eat it for a full month? If sheep and cattle were slaughtered for them, would it suffice for them? If all the fish of the sea were gathered for them, would it suffice for them? Then the Lord said to Moses, is my power limited? Now you will see if my word comes true for you or not. Moses went out and told the people what the Lord had said. And he assembled 70 men of the elders of the people, and stood them around the tent. The Lord descended in a cloud and spoke to him. And he increased some of the spirit that was on him, and bestowed it on the 70 elders. And when the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, but they did not continue. Now 2 men remained in the camp. The name of one was Eldad, and the name of the second was Medad. And the spirit rested upon them. They were among those written, but they did not go out to the tent, but prophesied in the camp. The lad ran and told Moses, saying, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' servant from his youth, answered and said, Moses, my master, imprison them. Moses said to him, are you zealous for my sake? If only all the Lord's people were prophets, that the Lord would bestow his spirit upon them. All right, so now we have the end of the 6th portion. First up, we have the verse that is recited when the Torah leaves the tabernacle and when you are in a prayer setting in modern day. Hayaron Vayomer Moshe, and so on. Before the Ki Mitzion. If you know it, you know it. But this is the origin of that line. Whenever the ark would set out, Moses would say, arise, O Lord, may your enemies be scattered, and may those who hate you flee from you. So very, very much an important line of the Torah. Now beyond that, we have chapter 11, and there's a lot here. So I mentioned in the previous verse about the Erev Rav. So from here, we now see a similar situation of the groups of people among the people of Israel. They all collectively start to complain and complain and complain, and it causes God to be mad, and he basically casts out fire into the extremes of the camp, right? So it burns up the people either by extremes. It can mean on the outer edges, or it could mean those who are the most vocal. I don't know which it does mean. I would assume it's those who are on the outer edges. But anyway, they cry out to Moses like, oh no! And they're like, Moses says, God, settle down. And God calms down. He subsides his anger, but he names the place after this moment, Taberah. Now, after that, they continue to complain, and they're starting to say, we want meat. And, way back in Egypt, we had all sorts of food. We had meat, we had fruits, we had it all. And now what do we have? We have manna every single day, the same thing, day after day. Oh, we're just so sick of it. And they come out and they complain, and Moses overhears it, and they're at his door whining and wailing, oh, we want meat. Oh, we're just so miserable. And Moses has had it. The Lord gets angry, and Moses considered the whole thing evil. And so he outright says to God, why are you doing this to me? Why am I being punished with having to deal with these freaking people. What did I do to deserve them? Why? I didn't create them. They're not my children. They don't come from me. So why is this my problem? So let me just ask you, if they're saying, give us meat, I can't do this alone anymore. So if I have found favor in your eyes, if you truly care about me, if you wish to reward me, Lord, kill me. Put me out of my misery. I don't want to deal with this anymore. They're just insufferable, and I'd rather die than deal with this. So please show me mercy. And God basically says to him, No, there's no need for your distress, no despair. I will give them meat, not just for 1 day, not 2 days, not 10 days. I'm going to give them a meat for a whole month so they get sick of it. And I'm going to show them why they should be grateful. So all said and done, and now Moses is just like, whoa, my Lord, how are we going to do that? If we have 600,000 people, if we kill all of the animals, will that be enough for them? If we take all the fish out of the sea, would that be enough for them? How is this going to happen? And God says to him, who do you think you're talking to? Am I not all powerful or what? So come on, let's see it happen. Also, go ahead and gather 70 men of the elders of the people and have them come meet with you here around the tent. And then as this happens and they come down, he basically says, I'm going to bring the Spirit over you, and then it's going to shed onto the people around you. And so now the burden of dealing with these people is going to not just be your job, but also it's going to fall on them. So they receive the Spirit, and it gives them the gift of prophecy. They are now able to start seeing things, and it's like, whoa, we get it now. And this gives Moses some breathing room so that people can turn to these guys instead of just Moses for prophecy and guidance. But interestingly, there are 2 guys who are supposed to be there, but they didn't actually physically go. So they were supposed to go to the tent, but they stayed home. And they suddenly have a prophecy too, even though they weren't there. And so this basically leads to Joshua, the son of Nun, who is Moses' servant, coming to him and saying, oh, Moses, these guys are prophesizing. You should lock them up. And Moses says, are you zealous for my sake? Right? In other words, the fact that the people of Israel can receive prophecy other than me is a gift. If only everyone had this gift. So it's interesting because there's this sense of superiority, the sense of authority, right? Moses is the prophet. He's the number one, right? And this is also a really good argument for why he's called the humble one. Because here's his servant saying, Moses, these guys are having the audacity to do what you do. You should lock them up. And he says, nonsense. It's a gift. That they can do it, I wish everybody could do it. So he has this blessing, but he doesn't covet his own blessing. He doesn't want to keep it all for himself. He's actually very much humble in that sense. And also, this is an interesting flex of God's power, that even when they didn't show up, they were the ones who were going to receive prophecy, and even without being there at the official spot, the location didn't matter. It was just what they were told to do. But it didn't matter where you were on earth, they all would have received this prophecy. Even if none of the 70 had shown up, all of them would have received this divine revelation. So that's also the significance of that. Now we move on to the 7th portion, chapter 11, verse 30. Then Moses entered the camp, he and the elders of Israel. A wind went forth from the Lord and swept quails from the sea and spread them over the camp, about 1 day's journey this way and 1 day's journey that way, around the camp, about 2 cubits above the ground. The people rose up all that day and all night and the next day and gathered the quails. Even the one who gathered the least collected 10 heaps. They spread them around the camp in piles. The meat was still between their teeth. It was not yet finished, and the anger of the Lord flared against the people, and the Lord struck the people with a very mighty blow. He named that place Kivrot Hata'avah, graves of craving, for there they buried the people who craved. From Kivrot Hata'avah, the people traveled to Hazarot, and they stayed in Hazarot. Chapter 12. Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses regarding the Cushite woman he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. They said, Has the Lord spoken only to Moses? Hasn't he spoken to us too? And the Lord heard. Now this man Moses was exceedingly humble, more so than any person on the face of the earth. The Lord suddenly said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, Go out, all three of you, to the tent of meeting. And all three went out. The Lord descended in a pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent. He called to Aaron and Miriam, and they both went out. He said, Please listen to my words. If there be prophets among you, the Lord will make myself known to him in a vision. I will speak to him in a dream. Not so is my servant Moses. He is faithful throughout my house. With him I speak mouth to mouth, in a vision and not in riddles, and he beholds the image of the Lord. So why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? The wrath of the Lord flared against them, and he left. The cloud departed from above the tent, and behold, Miriam was afflicted with sarat, as white as snow. Then Aaron turned to Miriam, and behold, she was afflicted with sarat. Aaron said to Moses, Please, master, do not put sin upon us for acting foolishly and for sinning. Let her not be like the dead, which comes out of his mother's womb with half his flesh consumed. Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, I beseech you, God, please heal her. The Lord replied to Moses, If her father were to spit in her face, would she not be humiliated for 7 days? She shall be confined for 7 days outside the camp, and afterwards she may enter. So Miriam was confined outside the camp for 7 days, and the people did not travel until Miriam had entered. Then the people departed from Hazerot, and they camped in the desert of Paran. All right, so here is the end of this week's portion as we conclude number 7. So here we get the quails, right? So after Moses and all the elders, they've had their moment, the quails come in. The Lord grants the wish. You want meat? I'll give you meat. And he does so. And so much of it that it stacks 10 cubits high from east to west. Even the person who gathered the least got 10 heaps of them. So they were numerous. But the people made a fatal mistake. They gathered all that food and they just started to eat. What did they forget to do? They forgot to say thank you. They forgot to praise and thank the one who answered their cries and gave them what they asked for. And for that lack of gratitude, they paid dearly. So the Lord executes them with his rage, and they are buried there. And it's because, again, they received a miracle and showed no gratitude whatsoever for it. Now, here we see an issue regarding some gossip and smack talk going on behind Moses' back. And brother and sister Miriam and Aaron are talking about Moses regarding his wife, criticizing because he married a Cushite woman, as in she's not of the people of Israel, she's a foreigner. And, they said, has the Lord spoken only to Moses? Hasn't he spoken to us too? They have the audacity to compare themselves to Moses. And Moses, he's the humble one. So he doesn't say anything about it. If he knows about it, he ain't going to do anything about it. He's very much too humble to ever make this a contest. And we saw that displayed, this humility, in relation to the previous portion where he did exactly that, about the others being prophets and him saying, if only everybody could be a prophet. So now here we have the opposite situation. Moses was humble. These folks are haughty. They are very self-important because, we get prophecies, don't we? So Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, the siblings, are all called together, and the Lord descends. He calls out, and he speaks to the siblings, and he says, Let me ask you something. If there are prophets among you, I will make myself known to him. I'll speak to him in a vision, in a dream. But Moses is different. When Moses gets information from me, he gets it directly. There's no confusion. There's no messages. I tell him in plain terms, mouth to mouth. I tell him, he gets the information. So not only that, he beholds the image of the Lord. You understand? You see a dream. You get a vision. He actually talks to me face to face. Almost 100% face-to-face, if not for the fact that face-to-face would kill Moses, but that's beside the point. Point is, I speak to Moses directly, and he speaks in my presence. You just get visions. You think you're the same as him? And more importantly, if you know that Moses receives those kinds of relations from me, those kinds of visions, that kind of counsel, if you know Moses and I are that close, why exactly are you not afraid of talking bad about that man who is my servant? Can you explain to me why you think you should be talking smack about my man Moses? Are you crazy? Are you stupid? That's kind of the mentality it seems to be. Why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Like, in other words, this is what they now realize what they've done is they have insulted not just Moses, but they've insulted God, because he speaks equal in terms of like a sort of fraternity between him and God. They're very close. You can't talk to his best friend Moses like that, his servant, his guy Moses, his top guy, his right-hand man, and you think you can talk about him like that? So in any case, they realize they have made a mistake, and there's a physical consequence, because as the Lord escapes from the area, he departs. Miriam's skin is afflicted with sarat, which is a punishment for lashon hara, the evil tongue. And so, one might ask, why Miriam but not Aaron? It may be because Aaron was the high priest. He had a different sort of exemption. Maybe it protected him a little bit. Or maybe Miriam was the one actually doing the talking and Aaron was just the one listening. Either way, Miriam gets afflicted with this skin disease. And now Aaron's freaking out, and he's now begging Moses, like, please, Moses, help us. And Moses now cries out also, because it's his sister. He says, please, Lord, help, heal her. And basically the Lord says, if her father was to spit in her eye or spit in her face, wouldn't she be humiliated for a week? So that's how long she's going to be removed from the camp, just like anybody else with this affliction. We're going to see how she likes being the talk of the town. So she gets to be the one who's humiliated now, instead of her talking bad about Moses. And so they wait until Miriam is better, and then she returns to the camp, and then they depart. And from there, they go to the desert of Paran from Hazarot. And that's the end of this week's Torah portion. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found it educational and informative. And as always, quite a bit of information. We had, I think, 4 different chapters that we covered in this week's portion. Quite a hefty one altogether. And it's very interesting the different things we hear covered. Particularly, we see instances of just Moses really losing his patience, or rather, the people being just so wretched and wicked that Moses has to just put up with way too much. And we're seeing it even wears on him. So, of course, if he's getting sick of it, how much could the Almighty really tolerate when he's already given them even more? Moses is just the guy he's telling to do stuff, but they're disrespecting the Lord himself, who's delivered them from Egypt, and even saying, we wish we stayed. Well, nonetheless, we are seeing a recurring pattern of a very complaining, whining people who are ultimately their own undoing, despite all the blessings and all the favor they've received from the Lord. Much to think about, much to keep in mind, especially as we march through our own journeys and keep in mind the blessings we've received. Until next time, this is Shmuel Moshe from the Weekly Parashahcast, wishing you a great whatever time of day it is and a great week to follow, and I hope you'll tune in next time. Until then, Baruch Hashem.